Hey family! If you're wondering why I'm calling you family, go back to video 5 and you'll find out why. So with that, welcome to video 6, where I'm going over the 7-step process on how to write a simple and basic resume. Step 6 is about the extracurriculum, community service, activity area that some people either have or don't have on a resume. Before I even go into those details about that, you don't have to put that on there. If you do have it, then great, add it. If you don't have it, it's not anything that's considered detrimental to not having on a resume. If you have it or you don't. If you do have it, I do recommend that you add it there. If you've done community service with your church or in school and you helped out some sort of organization, it's definitely good to list that type of involvement on a resume. If you were in sports, if you were a basketball player, football player, or hockey, or tennis, anything that you did, I would definitely add that to a resume as well. And if you were in any type of organizations in college, maybe you were in a Greek organization, maybe you were in a sorority or something like that, I would say add that to your resume too. Fraternity, sorority, those are keywords that recruiters search for sometimes when they are looking for a certain person for an opportunity. A lot of people come up to me and they say, well, why would I put that on there? How is that even relevant? Why do people even care? Let me tell you something. What people forget is your resume is your selling piece for you. You can't get in front of the hiring managers or the recruiters and sell yourself, but your resume can. So what your resume is telling me when you have those things on there is you are involved, you are active, you have some sort of leadership skills, you have social skills, which is very, very important. A lot of people don't have social skills. And I'm not saying that if you didn't do those things, you don't have social skills. But what I am telling you is if you did do those things, you are informing me for sure that you have some sort of social skills. It shows me that you are determined, you motivated, you have leadership skills, you're a team player if you play sports, like things like that. It's information and knowledge on a resume that we can't seek out unless we read it, and we wouldn't know it, unless we talk to you, but we don't always have that ability to talk to you in advance. So your resume is doing the talking for you. So I always tell people, always put that on your resume. You don't have to have a book about you're listing all these accolades under it. No, but you can tell me that you did it, and that in itself let me know a little bit more about who you are. Believe it or not, social skills these days don't really exist much because people are on their computers all the time, they're on their phones, they're texting, they're on Facebook or whatever have you. So sometimes environments require you to be social. You probably don't believe that, or some of you maybe do and know that. It requires you to be social. So we look for things like that on resumes to see how social you are. Can you fit in this environment? Are you or could you potentially be a team player? And we can get all of that from knowing your community involvement. If you are active or was active in some sort of sport in high school or college, and then if you were in a fraternity or a sorority, please list it. Here's an example of how you should list that information on your resume. Here we go. Welcome back to how to write a simple, basic resume. We are on step 6 of 7, extracurriculum activities. Wow, 6 of 7, we are almost done. I'm going to start with community service. It is great to list it on your resume, but keep it to a minimum. You don't want to list 17 things about how you helped on the organ at the church and you swept around the back and whatever it is that you did. That's great. I think you should list 1 or 2 things, but not 100. And if you do list anything, try to list what is relevant to your work history. So, for example, if I volunteered at a church and maybe I helped write 25 resumes for people in the congregation. Nobody paid me for this. It's a church that I attend, and it was a service that I provided. That would be an example of how to keep the community service relevant to the resume. Sports involvement. This is great for entry-level people who are just graduating from college and looking for a new opportunity. Recent grads usually don't have enough information to fill up their resume. So if you worked a couple of jobs, obviously you add those. But if you were in any type of sports involvement, add that as well. Why? Because it provides insight to your characteristics. Sometimes people don't know that your resume is your first and initial mouthpiece and selling tool for you. So if you list that you were involved in some sort of sports, most of the time, not all the time, it tells us that you have a competitive nature, that you are a team player, you can get along with others. Things like that help us maybe identify some of the characteristics that you have that maybe your work experience don't really tell us. A lot of recruiters and hiring managers do keyword searches. Maybe they're not looking for someone with a specific skill set, but maybe they are looking for those characteristics, such as a team player, somebody who's competitive, who has some sort of sports. So if you have it, write it on your resume. Sorority and fraternity. I remember one time someone asked me, should they add it on there? And they heard that it was irrelevant and not professional, and why would you add that? In my opinion, I'm going to go with my opinion on this one. That is not true. Again, this is a part of the sports thing. You add this because it can be relevant information on your resume. It does tell us some things about you. Not all the time, but most of the time, it speaks volumes about your personality. Maybe you are social. Being in a sorority and a fraternity, you usually can't not be not social. You have to be social in some sort of way. And sometimes some of the opportunities that you're applying for requires you to have that social skills. So we look for that. We would do keyword searches and type in sorority or fraternity and see if you are involved. Again, a lot of companies are going and moving towards being innovative and looking for people who have that type of mind frame and thoughts within, motivated and determined. A lot of times people who are in sorority and fraternities have those skills. It's not to say that people who are not in sorority and fraternities don't have it. It's to say that if you are in it, the likelihood of you having it is very probable. So we look for those things. An example of what you would write is active member of Delta Sigma Theta sorority. That would be an example of how you would put this on your resume. And here's an example for you. Organizations or community involvement. That title can be said in quite a few ways. This is just the one I'm choosing to use right now for organizations and community involvement. So as you can see, I listed one for each. So coach youth basketball team at the Church of God. I just made that up. That's not a church. If it is, then shout out to that church. But that is an example. And I put dates next to it because I wanted you to see that sometimes people put that and you don't need a date. That's fine. Sometimes it's great to put a date. If you want to keep your resume consistent and in line along with the bullet points, you could put the dates on there. Player on the varsity basketball team at University of Memphis, I put that on there. And active member of Omega Psi Phi fraternity, I put the date on there as well. Again, the dates don't have to go on there. You can literally list this without dates. Dates is just sometimes it's good to have. Maybe you have 30 years of experience and you helped coach that youth team 30 years ago. Is that really relevant to put on there right now? Maybe not. It's to the readers. It's whatever the reader feel is relevant for them. Again, this is a sample resume of Derek Rose. He is not a member of Omega Psi Phi fraternity, at least not that I know of. So I don't want the Q dogs coming for me. I'm just using this as an example. Please, this is just an example. We are almost done with the 7 steps. This was step 6. See you in the next video, step 7. In the meantime, subscribe, tell a friend, thumbs up my video. Bye-bye.